Day, the Divine Feminine. And it is so important for us to be in recognition of our mothers and what that divine feminine energy is in our lives. We love to talk about love. Many of your first loves, that is an expression of the divine feminine. When you have courage, that is an expression of your divine feminine. So there are many qualities of spirit that we have that is representative of the divine feminine, but the topic and the title for today's lesson is something entirely different. We're continuing our study, 100 years of the science of mind, because it was, 1918? That Ernest Holmes published his first book that was entitled, and we accepted it as the textbook for the philosophy, the science of mind. So what we're doing this year is to look at what is the essence of the thought that is part of that philosophy. And we are explaining it. And what it means is that we're touching, tasting, and feeling it. And it is a wonderful thing to have happen because you get a chance to ruminate for a week on the various topics that we've pulled out. Today, we're talking about the creative process. More specifically, the curriculum entitles it The Sequence of the Creative Order. We know we're talking about how you say a particular thing, how it goes into the creative medium, and then it becomes a form or manifestation. I have my own title that I want to use for this particular talk. I called it Genesis Revealed. Genesis Revealed, because it really carries us back to the creation story in Genesis. Now, I want to just couch this with the fact that when we read the Bible, I want you to be aware of our master teacher who said, "In my Father's house are many mansions." That means many levels of awareness, many levels of consciousness. And if it were not so, continues Jesus, I will tell you. So what we're talking about today is another level of consciousness or awareness about what this creation story means. And we're looking at it from the perspective of, I speak forth my word. What happens to that word, and how does that word becomes the form that I am interested in? The perspective that we're using for this lesson is our thoughts and words create our reality. Our thoughts and words create our reality, and it was Jesus in the New Testament book of John, John 6:63, which says the words I speak are spirit and life-giving. What in the world does that mean? And there are many ways, various interpretations of how to say this one scripture, and I gave you one that is not the King James Version. It could be said, the words I speak unto you are spirit, and they are life. Life is living. It's being, it's doing, it's existing. So it means the same thing. So our perspective, our thoughts and words create our reality, becomes a truism for us. So let's begin to unpack this. When we begin to look at our own life, we look at our own life. What are the words that we're saying? Our words are powerful. Let's back it up, because the first thing said our thoughts. Our thoughts create our reality. Our words create our reality. Thoughts are things. But what we know about thoughts, if you don't articulate the thought, if you don't start working with it in your mind, you can let it just pass on through your mind and go elsewhere. But if you select that thought and you begin to ruminate on it and you begin to deal with it and you're putting your energy to it, you're bringing that thought into more of an expression. And it's not long before you speak out what that thought is. And those are words. And what we know is that our words are powerful. And as Jesus said, the words I speak are spirit and life-giving. One of the scriptures that I have used for many, many years to support my own thinking and the things that I'm working with in my life is that God has not given me a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. That power is the power of my spoken word. But let's continue to unpack this. When we're looking at this particular passage that Ernest Holmes has written called The Sequence of the Creative Order, he says this, and you find this quote in Living the Science of Mind on page 199. The principle of the science of mind is exact and mathematical, while the use of it is personal. So what are the personal words that you're speaking? Let's continue with this. The sequence of the creative order of the way the word works is, first of all, absolute intelligence. Next, its word or thought. And following this, the law is set in motion. Then at the end of the sequence is the creation or the formation of the word indefinite and mathematical and mechanical reactions to the law, of the law, to the creative word. Our words are creative. Our words are powerful. What are you thinking and what are you saying?
Thoughts make things.
Thoughts make things. One of the examples that I found very telling and revealing and very appropriate for this portion of the lesson, Reverend Abigail talked about how her mother had a habit of saying, "Oh, give me a break. Oh, give me a break." I mean, that's like an affirmation, just saying these words. "Oh, give me a break." And one day, she actually, I think she kicked her foot or her leg or something, but it resulted in a physical break in her body, in her structure. And those words came back to her. And she says, "Oh my goodness, now I get it." So she changed her words. She no longer walks around saying, "Oh, give me a break." I mean, that's all over with. So we do have to be very careful about what it is that we are saying. A lot of you may think, "Oh, that's really, I'm not too sure about that." But here's the deal. The more you are involved in learning the inner life, the inner laws of life by which we live, the universal principles, these are the same ideas and concepts that Jesus was aware of and practiced. When you become aware of them and you see how they work, they will apply themselves to your life and function in that way, because our words are spirit and life-giving. We're the ones who set that word into motion. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. It says that God spoke and God moved. And what happened? Light showed up. God separated the darkness from the light. You see how that works? You, in the microcosm, created in the image and likeness of the infinite spirit of life God, do the same thing. I know in my own personal life, one of the statements, and I still use it sometimes, but I'm very cautious. I used to say, when hell freezes over. Oh, ooh, yeah. And what I really meant was, I'll not do that until that thing happens, hell freezes over.
Well,
And I found
That's
myself
right.
being in trouble time and time again. You know, having my own personal hell, and hell was not freezing over until, guess who changed? I had to change, and once I changed, I didn't have to worry about that anymore. Those bad things stopped showing up in my life. So we use the word, the power of our word, to apply them to our lives, to make our lives a little bit better. Why don't we go to another one of the teachings of Ernest Holmes around this? Let's look at the metaphysical chart. And here you can see how our science of mind symbol actually is in alignment with the Trinity of being. So in this first chart here, I know that's actually the first one, but let's look at the pink chart. In the pink chart, we see the universal spirit or oneness. And in this, we see the triune nature, spirit, soul, and body. What happens here is that from the spirit of us, the consciousness, speaks forth a word of life that moves into the soul, which is the creative medium, and it becomes a form. It becomes a manifestation. To explain this chart even further, what this line here means is the descent of the spirit, the incarnation of spirit into man, the form that allows us to see the unity and how all of this works. The descent of spirit, that's what it's all about. Also, I can recall being taught that the ascent going up in that chart is our rising in consciousness, us becoming much more aware of spirit and how spirit works in our life. It's evolution. Evolution. So another way of looking at it through the science of mind symbol that we use is that spirit is synonymous with consciousness. Our soul is synonymous with the subconscious, the creative medium. And the body is the form and effect. One of the things that is absolutely true, and I want to read this to you that has to do with our word, is this, written by Ernest Holmes. Concept of good, not good. Wrong one. Wrong one. It has to do with the word. You know, this is nuts. Right when I found this last night, all thought is created. Got it. Since this is true, it follows that we cannot say that one thought is created while another is not. We must say that all thought is created according to the nature, impulse, emotion, or conviction behind the thought. Thought creates a mold in the subjective, which is the subconscious, in which the idea is accepted and poured and sets power in motion according to the thought. Ignorance of this excuses no one from its effect, for we are dealing with law and not whimsical fancy. The conscious mind is superior to the subjective and consciously make use of it. Great as the subconscious is, its tendency is set in motion by the conscious thought, and in that possibility lies the path to freedom. The karmic law is not kismet. It is not fate, but cause and effect. It is a taskmaster to the unwise, a servant to the wise. And this is a great reason for us to not be, as I love to be oftentimes, flippant with the words that we use. If you're going to be flippant, make sure that you be flippant with something that you really want to see, because I know that I have experienced that stuff happening and I have to clean it up. Reverend Allen.
Yeah, just a comment. I think that what you're saying too is that the thought we put behind our words makes them powerful. We just speak a word without thinking about it. That's not as powerful as giving thought to what we say before we open our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we will find that, I believe it's in the writings of Paul, that our tongue is unruly. It's an unruly thing, and one of our tasks is to learn how to have that self-control, to tame the tongue such that it doesn't just become flippant and flip out these words that don't support your good. It's a little unthinking to say something that is derogatory to yourself. I can recall how my neighbor, as I was growing up, used to just run around and say damn it to everything. And that's negative. So the purpose here is for us to begin to look at, we have a creative process that works, and this is what it is. Susan.
So also in the Science of Mind it says that behind a thought is a feeling. Behind a feeling is a belief.
Mm-hmm.
So if we trace it back to the belief and we understand what the belief is, then we can change the feeling, that can change the thought, that can change the words that come out of our mouth.
Lily?
Before I came to church today, our son Barrett and I were talking, and I was telling him that one of the members, longtime members of Girlfriend Club, had gotten into a way of just saying things as they enter her mind. One thing that was said, this lady is Afro-American, she said that, and she said this in open public, and I sort of let it go over. She said that she doesn't have any black girlfriends, nor does she want any black girlfriends. And the second thing that she said about the speaker who was speaking on leadership, like this was 3 years later, that the presentation reminded her of Donald Trump. I know we can say what we think, but we are responsible for our words that come into the ears of others.
Yes.
So we were taken aback by that, but it was in her heart when it came out, and it just didn't bode well.
Mm-hmm. And the point is very well taken, because it is the truth, it is the reality. When we speak those negative words, we're speaking out the truth of our personal reality. And we're letting it be made known. But once again, there's power in those words that you've spoken. Because one of the things that we already know is that the subconscious mind captures everything, every word you've spoken, every memory you've had, every activity you've been involved in. It is all knowing, not some knowing, all knowing. And those words will come back and present themselves to you, not only from your inner ear, but the outward expression that can be before you. Your words.
Oh, yeah.
Words are very important. I don't care how well known you are in the public. I don't care what station in life you have as a leader. Our words are important. And how we say those words are important. The tone of the words are important, because you are a person of influence. Your words are influencing the minds and the hearts of those that look to you spend time with you, and are friends with you. Those words are going out. They have fingers. They grow fingers in some kind of way. And they grow tentacles, and they grow those little suction cups, and they hang on to where they find a place of rest.
And before those words are spoken, it's also just as true to say the thoughts you think are important, because they're going to show up.
That is so
Oh,
true.
they will.
That's so true.
And your beliefs.
Yeah. You know, and I know this is just validating what Reverend Allen said from the Old Testament, and I believe it was Ezekiel. It could have been one of the other prophets. But in this prayer that the prophet was praying, he said, and I give thanks that you always hear, and you answer me even while I am yet speaking. And you don't have to speak out loud when you pray. But the Spirit is hearing and answering even as you are praying. You're in union, communion with the divine. See, what this reminds us is that there's no distance in time and space in our connection with the infinite. There's presence of Spirit is here, right now. So let's go on to this next one. Throughout, we're in love today. Throughout the Bible and all sacred books, we find the same idea, that the word acting as law produces a definite result. But right here, we must remember that the word is not something that speaks itself. Huge. The word is not something that speaks itself. Can I say it a third time? The word is not something that speaks itself. It's okay that it's a word. Watch out. There is an intelligence that speaks the word. Therefore, the initial movement of the creative sequence is absolute intelligence speaking a word, which is also absolute because it sets an absolute law in motion for the purpose of producing a definite result. So, God spoke a word, let there be light. It was so. God said, when Jesus came forth, the word is spirit and light-giving, life-giving. And all of that has presented itself as true. Carolyn Douglas said, when hell freezes over, and that became true. But Carolyn Douglas learned that she had to change that. So what that means in essence is, yes, those words are there. There's nothing wrong with a word or the thought that you're having. What we want to do is to allow ourselves to grow up in this place where love and law works hand in hand. Life happens all the time, and life wants to continue, and life is full of abundance. Therefore, when we speak words that have this higher expression of form and being, it causes all of us to be lifted up. So this is a very simple thing, but it's a very necessary and powerful teaching and learning that we must all learn. And here is part of the key. When that word speaks, it is from an intelligence. You individually is an intelligence. You have the very mind of spirit within you. So you are speaking that word. So the initial movement in the sequence is the absolute intelligence is speaking a word which is absolute. Oh, here's another thing. So you are absolute intelligence, and that word that's running through your mind, that's an absolute. An absolute means ever. It's fixed. It's it. That's the word. It's also absolute because it sets an absolute law in motion for the purpose of a definite result. I think what's important to be unpacked and shared here is that the word you speak is just as powerful as the first word spoken by the infinite Spirit of life. That's what we all have to come to an awareness of. That's why we become very mindful of what we say and mindful of how we say it. As a teacher, as a parent, a mother, father, aunt, whatever, we don't call our children stupid. We don't do that. As a parent and being among other parents, I've heard some parents say negative things about their children. And I also recall hearing my mother say, I'm not going to say bad things about my children. They're my bad children, but I will never go out and say these negative things about my children. And what she was aware of is that children are in their formative expression of growing into who they really are. They're letting out their nature, their characteristics. And yes, some of that which comes out has to be molded and formed to go in a different direction. In my family, we just had this major upset with our 9-year-old during a test time. He got upset with the teacher. And guess what he does? This is why watching television gets children in trouble. He goes and he pulls the fire alarm.
And who was that? Somebody I know?
Yeah. Yeah, someone you know.
Cute.
And thought, well, everything is okay. We're like, no, this is not okay. And this is not okay behavior. No.
It's upwards of $2,000 just to get,
Yes.
there's a monetary thing.
So we have to be mindful of what's going on through here. I have thoughts that are going on in my mind. And as I was driving along, I was saying to Spirit, I really don't like those thoughts and I hate that they show up in my mind. And Spirit within me said, think a little bit deeper. Think a little bit deeper. And as I began to think a little bit deeper, I began to get a new perspective about why those thoughts were there. There is time for me to do some inner work to let go of what those thoughts are about. Because life is here to transform that which no longer serves you. Something that you no longer need. It's what I no longer need. It's like, let go of it. It's not doing you any good. It's just taking up time and space. So, how can we take this process here and use it to our good? The way we can take this process and use it to our good is as we go about declaring those things that we would like to experience for a happy life, a lot of beautiful health, seeing our wholeness, having the right job, the perfect place of being, having wonderful vacations, whatever it is in life you're choosing to do. Our habit is to create affirmations. Develop an affirmation about what it is you want. Now here is also the crux of what's important for you to know here. The most powerful 2 words that you will ever have in your vocabulary is I am. Whatever goes behind I am, that is what you are. I am is the infinite name of God. I am. When you're talking about your health, I am wholeness. When you're talking about your supply, I am abundant. I am. I am. So what is the I am that you are declaring for yourself in this day? So create the affirmations to declare what you see to be the vision of yourself, what you see to be the ideal expression for yourself, use those words and allow them to be made manifest to you. I am whole, perfect, complete, and entire. That is a huge affirmation, but you will begin to see in your life, in various areas of your life, where you're making those little changes and they are coming about. It's that I am. I am, Reverend Allen.
Just if I can expand just a tiny bit, because I was reading something. It says, I am what God is.
Mm-hmm.
God is what I am. And so just
that's
connecting
cool.
the two, it's
Yeah.
the I am, but it's just a little more boost.
And that's why we have classes. That's why we would love for you to come to the foundational classes, to the Science of Mind classes, the Life Enhancement class, the Prosperity classes, because sometimes we really don't know what God is. When we're declaring, I am what God is, we may not have an understanding of what God is in terms of prosperity. Prosperity is not limited to cash money. Prosperity is your health, the wholeness of your life, everything that you find yourself being involved in. So that's one of the teachings. Foundational classes, I'm up to teaching it. Practitioner classes, I'm up to teaching it. So yes, I agree with you. That is an amazing statement. So there are other things that we must be aware of as we're using this creative process. And I just want to reiterate once again, the most powerful thing is your subconscious mind, which is that creative medium that receives the direct impress of your thought, and it acts upon your thought. That action is independent of you once it begins its process. Once that process starts, it moves to a place of fulfillment. That is the result that you see. So everywhere you look in this room, everything you see, the flowers are an effect. This is creation. It is an effect. The clothes that I have on, the clothes that you have on, is an effect. It's a result of somebody's skill and talent working with this material. The camera that's taking the picture is an effect. There isn't anything that your eye can behold or your senses can see or feel that is not an effect. So what I'd like to leave you with is that we have a wonderful mind. We have a mind where we can use to see and create what it is we would love to experience, how we see ourselves. We can use our mind to visualize our next step, our next move. We can use our mind to just see ourselves in Hawaii. Oh yeah, I'm a little nuts. We can see ourselves in Hawaii, right on the big island, and actually see that lava flowing and moving. This morning news said 2 other fissures have popped up. So it's still that, which appears to be a disaster to some, is still in process. It is, I'm saying it is a process of creation. Yeah, a process of creation. Did anybody see the video that someone took where here was the lava flowing? There was this beautiful white SUV sitting there, and the truck couldn't go anywhere, and the lava just came and consumed it. The lava is the owner. It's at one with the truck. It took it over.
And you better get out of its way.
This is true. God gives us wisdom. We create laws unto ourselves. Laws unto ourselves. So yes, we learn when certain situations arise how we are to respond and react in them. So with that, I just want to invite you to consider this meditation from Ernest Holmes. It's entitled, I Keep the Promise. And this is a promise that you would keep to yourself. He says, I shall keep the promise that I have made to myself. I shall never again tell myself that I am poor, sick, weak, or unhappy. I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, telling it that it is wonderful and marvelous, that it is one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. I shall whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy with the realization of its limitless possibilities. I shall assure my soul. And that's it. That's it. That's it. We can tell ourselves in our circumstances and in our situations, I'm perfect, I'm whole, I'm complete. We can tell ourselves as we stand on the stage of life, I'm confident, there's nothing to fear. I have confidence. I know that I have the whole of life upholding me, standing up behind me. I am confident. We can change our words. Let those words be positive for us. Keep the promise to yourself. Number one, be mindful of the creative process. Be mindful of how it works. Be mindful of the words that you speak. Be mindful of what you are declaring the result to be. And be mindful to keep that promise to yourself to be whole and complete in your life. So with that, let's just go within. Oh, in this moment, in this time, we give grateful thanks for this expression of having Genesis reveal how the creative process works for everyone. Not just for the infinite spirit of life, but for every man, woman, boy, and girl, everyone who chooses to speak a word and it calls that word to come into form and manifestation. I give grateful thanks in knowing that right where we are, the divine presence of Spirit is with us, and that it is in this place of awareness that we choose to feel joy, to feel contentment, to be at rest, to be at peace, and know that all is well. As I speak this word for myself and all that are here, all that are in hearing of this word, I accept and know that God is the infinite source of all that is. And today we choose to lean in and turn into the spirit of life, to be led and guided into right actions for the betterment of our life. It is the will of Spirit that we are all well, that we all prosper, that we all be in health as our soul prospers. Not only does that mean our physical life, but our inner life prospers as well. But we also stand in the recognition that our prosperity begins within our inner life first, and then it manifests on the outside. So what we see outside of ourselves is the result of what is on our inside. We are a unity. We are a wholeness. We're one with the infinite spirit of life. I speak this word of life and truth not only for our spiritual community, not only for everyone sitting here, but for anyone hearing the words that are spoken here. May you be well in all of your beautiful languaging, such that you experience the comfort and happiness of life, the abundance and the wealth, all of the good that life has for you. I invite you to affirm, I am life, I am good, I am the givingness, I am the receptor of the divine good, because all of this is the nature of the infinite spirit of life that is your true identity. So we know in this very moment that we can change our reality by changing our words. So as we accept and reiterate that the very word we speak is spirit and life-giving, we are aware that just by speaking those words, that any of the words spoken is impressed in the creative medium and bring forth that word into life expression. And so for this, I am giving great thanks. I am giving thanks for having this knowledge. I am thankful for the revelation of this secret, this being revealed in my consciousness, my awareness, such that I can do better. And as I speak this word for myself, I speak it for all. We live in an abundant universe. We live in an abundant life. Open our eyes and our minds to be receptor of the intuition of spirit that will lead and guide us into right thinking, right doing, right being. And for this, I am truly thankful. I release this word, allowing it to be, and so it is.
So it is.